When you think of anime from the 2010s, there is a high chance you would think to Angel Beats. For a time, this show was inescapable. It dominated the anime community. It was everywhere. It was in every discussion, every profile picture, and it was the best anime ever made. At least that is what a bunch of people online who are all way older than me told me about 10 years ago. But if you watched the show, you kind of understood why it was so big. Angel Beats was this show that, especially at the time, felt like nothing else. There was, and still is, something so freeing, melancholic, and just awesome about this show. It melted so many genres and was a tonal clash of elements that all came together to create this package that simply worked. It delivered overt comedy, it had pretty visuals and a killer soundtrack, all while offering a deeply emotional story that left an impact on so many people, that even to this day, I still see being referenced here and there. Angel Beats was an enigma. It was a show that defined anime for a very brief period of time, and to this day, I still think holds some form of social relevance. Find any list of influential anime, and Angel Beats is guaranteed to be in there. There are many reasons to like Angel Beats in current year, from its comedy, to its music, to its romantic storyline, but for me, there is another reason. I like Angel Beats for the same reasons that everyone else does. But what I find especially compelling about it is what the show chooses to say. Because at the heart of Angel Beats lies a single question, one that perpetuates throughout the show, and that question is, does your life matter? This is the beating heart of Angel Beats.
That is a really clever joke, for those of you who know ball.
This question is what drives its story, its characters, their memories, and every moment they face. Through everything this show does, I think this question is always present. And for a show that is built around life and death, I don't think there is a more poetic question to center this story around. Angel Beats opens with our main protagonist, Yuzuru Otanashi, waking up in a school with no memory of who he is or how he got here. The first thing he sees after awakening is a girl pointing a rifle at another girl. The girl holding the rifle is named Yuri, and she explains to him that he is in fact dead. Just as she is, and just like everyone else who wakes up here. They're all stuck in this purgatorial realm that has taken on the form of a high school. This school is a place where recently deceased teenagers, who are all filled with regret and feel unsatisfied about the lives they lived, end up after death. In this place, you can't die. You can take a fatal injury and just walk it off. But you also can't leave, as there's no way to escape this world. Well, actually, that's not fully true. The only way to fully leave this realm is by being what is referred to as obliterated, which to everyone here is a complete unknown. You just vanish into thin air, and as to what happens next, it's anyone's guess. Maybe you get reincarnated.
I'm Chinese.
Maybe your soul gets lost into a void of nothing. Or maybe you go to super hell, where you're forced to watch the Kill Me Baby opening on repeat for eternity. But being obliterated is the one fear everyone who wakes up here has, as it's the final frontier for life itself, and once it happens, you can never return. And as to actually how you get obliterated, well, it is believed that you get obliterated by partaking in this world's design. It being a school, that means going to class, listening to the teachers, partaking in school activities, and just overall following the rules. If you do anything here that would be normal, as if you were alive, you're at risk of being obliterated and lost from this world entirely. Which is where the Battlefront come in. A group of teenagers who have all awoken here after death and refuse to be obliterated. They do this not only out of fear, but more importantly out of a distaste for the lives they lived, with all of them sharing a similarity of having a short and unkind existence. They saw life as cruel and unfair, and they refused to accept that their lives are over so quickly, with them all never being able to atone or fix the problems that life gave them. So they banded together and formed a guerrilla military group inside of the school. Utilizing the smallest amount of firearms at any American school, they fight the rules of this world wherever they can. They're fighting against this world, refusing to be obliterated, all because they want to live. With the ultimate goal of the Battlefront being to find the higher power of this world and simply ask the question of, why?
Why?
Why did life suck for us? Why did we die so quick? Why would anyone want or allow this to happen? And luckily for the Battlefront, they have a good idea where to start with this journey, with the Battlefront's main enemy being Angel, also known as Kanade Tachibana, the girl who is in the sightlines of Yuri at the start. Angel is the student council president of this school, and is the closest thing the Battlefront has to a natural enemy, with them believing that she is somehow in control of everything here. She has inbuilt weapons and abilities more powerful than anything at the Battlefront's disposal, and much like everyone else here, she can't die. So the fight between Angel and the Battlefront is never ending. And while many wake up here after death, the majority of people here are in fact not real. They're all students who are born and exist in this realm, being referred to as NPCs. Not being people, but programs that exist in this world simply acting out a set of procedures. They populate the world, but don't go further than being set dressing. In fact, this whole world is incredibly similar to a video game. When you die, you respawn. Everything seems to reset on its own. There are boss type enemies. You can shoot up an area, and none of the NPCs seem to care. America, some would say. The world has a very loose set of rules that can easily be broken and exploited by those who are playing. Just like every player left in Titanfall 2. So pretty much this world is a video game, which I can put more simply by saying this show is an isekai. It sucks to admit that, but this really is one. Still waiting for the Afterlife knife-only speedrun attempt. But going back to Otanashi, he is stuck here just like everyone else. And his goal, if there even is one, is to regain his memories, learn who he was, how he died, and maybe find some way out of here. Angel Beats is interesting in that regard. For such a story-heavy show, in the beginning, it doesn't really have a clear or defined goal.
Stalker you never call. Do you want to go bowling?
So instead, the show pulls you along with its intensifying mystery, kind of out-of-place humor, and most importantly, the individual character stories everyone has. Well, not quite everyone, but I'll explain later. You see, for a lot of Angel Beats' runtime, Otanoshi works with the Battlefront on their missions that ultimately involve them fighting against Angel and hopefully getting one step closer to finding the god of this world. But through each episode and each operation the Battlefront conducts, Otanashi learns more about the individuals in the Battlefront. Who they were, how they died, and most importantly, how unfulfilled and regretful their previous lives were. No! It's a common element you'll pick up on really quickly, but everyone who ends up here seems to be regretful of life in some way. Some were born into unfair circumstances, and others just had bad luck. But either way, no one who ends up here is satisfied with the lives they lived, especially when they were cut so short, having no chance of redeeming their actions or taking that next step to feel that satisfaction they'd never got. So every member of the Battlefront is fighting for their own personal reasons. And while everyone has their own reasons for why they keep fighting, there is one commonality they all share, and that is no one here wants or wanted to die. No one wants to pass over. No one wants their souls to be gone for good. Everyone in the Battlefront wants to live. Despite how cruel life was to all of these people, they still want to have a life worth living. So in this world, through rebelling against the higher powers and refusing to take part in the school life presented to them, they're holding on to that little life they have left. And I find that there is something so endearing and just kind of beautiful about that ideology. With all of the members of the Battlefront choosing to keep fighting in the want for a better life and not allowing the little time they had to be the end. Even with how cruel life was to so many of them, they still don't want to die. And they all seem to come together and share in that connection. The Battlefront is this big found family of unlikely friendships. They all share in that want to live. As completely different as they all are, it's the one thing that unites them. And through this world and the time they spend together, they seem to find happiness through each other. Through the connections they make, the battles they fight, and all the weird moments that seem to keep happening to them. The Battlefront's members all came together to make that fear of death and hatred of life just that littlest bit bearable. Which is a nice little touch this show has. The Battlefront is pretty much just a big friend group who all have a good time and hold each other up. They're supportive, funny, and have camaraderie, just like any group of friends would. With how morbid as it sounds, death brought all of these characters together and was able to allow them to have that last little bit of friendship and camaraderie their lives will ever see. And there's something really sweet in that. A group of broken people with literally no life left, finding happiness through each other, making the horrors of life and death fade away through the time they spend together. And I think that's a reason as to why this show's overt comedy works so well. because Angel Beats surprisingly has a ton of wacky comedy throughout it, that when you isolate it, just seems really out of place. You take two scenes from this show and put them side by side, and it looks like they're from two completely different shows, with one being overt and cartoonish, the other being borderline soul-destroying. And Angel Beats is able to balance this because of its characters. These outbursts they have, juxtaposed to this show's heavy story, just shows how close they are as friends. It shows how despite this world's design and the horrors they've each faced, they can still find fun and excitement and don't feel chained down by the hardships life has given them. Now, Angel Beats is not without its flaws, which is something most modern retrospectives on this series can't seem to gloss over, because yes, this show is not perfect, especially when viewing it years later. I think at the time, when Angel Beats was relatively new, considering how amazing this show was and how unique it felt with so many of its elements, people chose to brush aside some of its quite obvious issues. Which is all well and fine, like you don't have to pay attention to these, but there is one for me being really noticeable on a rewatch, that being the pacing issues. Now, Angel Beats suffered from a problem that a lot of shows around this time suffered from, that of having too many characters, too much story, with too little time. And the reason this happened stems back to the creator of Angel Beats, Jun Maeda. Now, Jun Maeda was a very renowned composer and writer of visual novels through the early 2000s. He was a co-founder of Key, which produced some of the most notable visual novels of all time, and he pretty much had some level of involvement in all of them. So, with this massive level of clout, Aniplex approached him and told him to write up an original story that would later become Angel Beats. Now, Maeda's biggest claim to fame at this time was a little title known as Clannad, that got an anime adaptation a few years prior to Angel Beats. And when Clannad was adapted, it had 23 episodes to tell its story, plus After Story, which was another 24 on top of that. However, the key difference between something like Clannad and other key visual novel adaptations compared to Angel Beats was that Angel Beats wasn't an adaptation, it was an anime original. So it was kind of up to Jun Maeda to make the length of this show. And when writing it, he thought that he would have a similar runtime to that of Clannad, that being around the 24 episode mark. But then he only got 13 to tell Angel Beats' story. So with that, a lot of elements and characters got sidelined. Like, can any of you tell me this character's name? I didn't think so. I had to go to the wiki to find that out. About 80% of the characters this show likes to highlight don't really matter in terms of the story. There are only a few characters that actually get full backstories and character arcs. The rest are just set dressing that we never fully see to the end. And while Angel Beats starts off really strong with its story, it does feel rushed towards the later half. But Angel Beats is also somehow able to make this work, to the point where I don't think many would mind that most of the characters don't really have a story. And this is because the few characters we do get to spend time with are so satisfying. They are all full stories of people getting fucked over by life and finding meaning within this world. And because they are so good, you tend not to notice the side characters' lack of stories. And you kind of just do this headcanon thing where you just interpret that they are in some way similar to the ones we do get to see, considering how this world works. And we do get just enough of an idea on who these people are. Through the very little interactions they have throughout every episode, you start to pick up on little quirks and mannerisms they all have. While they don't ever get the full backstories and character treatment of the main cast, you still feel them each as an individual presence in this show. But while the characters are one thing, the same can't be said for the narrative events that happen towards the later half, that feel really forced. Everything starts to happen in quick succession, like the shadows becoming the endgame enemy that turn people into NPCs, and the whole programmer thing. Like, fan theories aside, he just kind of comes out of nowhere and we have to accept at face value that he is the ultimate end to this world. And then there's the whole timeline thing that doesn't really make much sense when you think about it, and was never really explained how it works, but also doesn't ultimately matter. But you can also theorize and make your own interpretations that, oh, Tanashi was the programmer and he's been in this world for a long time, and I remember fucking falling in love with these theories when I was younger. These are all things that you can look at and just without a doubt say they are poorly implemented, because they come in so quick and you kind of just have to accept them for what they are. But because of how the show moves, you tend not to notice them. You tend to just follow the show because while these are elements that do feel kind of rushed, they don't feel out of place. They feel like things that could only happen in this world, with its world's logic. But the one thing I will never critique Angel Beats for are the visuals. Holy fuck, this show looks so good. Anything he does just looks amazing. And to this day, this show is top tier. The way bright lights saturate the darkness of an enclosed room, the tinge of bright colours of a sunset, the bright sunset's reflection in the windows and the water, the meal tickets that rain from the sky, the bright colour palette everything seems to have, and the blue sky. Oh man, the blue sky. I love me a big, wide blue sky, and Angel Beats is up there with like Evangelion for the best wide blue skies in anime. Everything has this ethereal presence. It all feels so bright, alive, and pristine. This is what I believe the afterlife will look like. Everything just looks good and is bright, which is kind of fitting considering what the point of this afterlife is. Because this afterlife does have a purpose. As the show continues, you'll start to pick up on reoccurring elements that slowly paint the larger picture of what this place is. This isn't hell, nor heaven, nor some loading screen to the next place. The point of this afterlife is for everyone to make peace with their regrets they had in life, and come to the understanding that their lives, no matter how short, had meaning and always mattered. The first glimpse into this is with Iwasawa. As we learn through Iwasawa herself, she was born into a broken family. Her parents would have constant violent clashes, and all she could do was block out the noise. She lived every day with no hope or joy until one day she found some music that changed her life. Hearing someone make a song that they poured all of their hatred and anger into to create something beautiful and meaningful struck a chord with her. After that, she found an old guitar on the street and made it her life goal to sing and make music that people would love. But she also did it so her voice would be heard, instead of it being drowned out by the constant violent clashes of her parents. She was in the process of following that dream until during one of their parents' outbursts, she got hit in the head and woke up here. But in the battlefront, she found solitude in the fact that she could form a band under the title of Girl's Dead Monster, and she could finally make music that people would like. However, she was still under the restriction of playing for the battlefront, not allowed to fully express herself out of a need to maintain an optimal crowd engagement. But during one diversion performance, she was told by the teachers that she could no longer play her music, and in a last-ditch attempt, she sings a ballad on her guitar, the same one she found all those years ago. She sings her heart out. She sings a melody so beautiful and filled with emotion, and with the eyes of the school on her, once she finishes her song, she gets obliterated. She vanishes without a trace. For her to sing that song on that guitar gave her the fulfillment and reason her real life never had due to it being cut short. She got to share her music and her soul, and it was heard. And it's the first moment that Otonashi in the battlefront realized that maybe getting obliterated isn't something chained down to this world's design. Maybe there's something more personal and meaningful about being obliterated. Which is all confirmed with Yui. Now, Yui is an energetic character in Angel Beats. She has so many dreams and aspirations to the point where Otonashi can't seem to keep up and fulfill them all. That is, until he learns what her life was before ending up here. Yui was paralyzed from a young age due to a car crash and was bedridden for her whole life. Due to her condition, she could never fully partake in the childhood she wanted. And here in this world, so long as she can move around, she's happy. She seems to make the most of it. She runs around, she has fun, and she's just filled with energy. But the one thing she never had in life was love. She never had a romantic interaction with anyone, and she believes that she never could have in life because of her condition. She saw herself as useless and unlovable in that state. And then in this world, she found Hinata, the titular dude bro character that kind of guides Otonashi through this world and is always by his side. Him and Yui have a weird relationship throughout the show, attacking each other both verbally and physically, but it turns out that he does hold some feelings for her, but ones he can't ever seem to get out. And once he learns what her previous life was to this, he doesn't push her away. He confesses to her and says that he loves her for who she is. No matter what she looks like or what her situation is, it's her as a person that he loves. And once Yui finds real love from someone who loves her for who she is, no matter what the circumstance, she vanishes just like Iwasawa, finally feeling fulfilled with the life she had, losing those lingering regrets and realizing that she could always find love. She just had to be herself. By the time Yui gets obliterated, it's clear that the Battlefront's perception of this world is wrong. This place is meant to help them understand how special life was for all of them. Yes, bad things happened, and life was cruel to all of them, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that they all mattered in their own individual way. Their lives have been artificially extended in this world so that they can all understand this. And once they finally do, they get obliterated and pass on. However, the people that find themselves in this world reject that idea, seeing being obliterated as just dying all over again. And they don't want to die, but they're also filled with regret from their past lives. So out of both fear and dissatisfaction, refuse to be obliterated. and they form the Battlefront as an act of defiance to the higher powers of this world. But in that defiance, they neglect to understand what this place is and why they're even here. They're all here because of the very reason they're fighting. Life wasn't fair to them, and this place allows them to have the opportunities life never gave them. Their enemy, Angel, isn't even a part of this world. She's the same as everyone else. She just woke up here, except she figured out a way to manipulate this world to give her access to it. So everyone who's fighting against this world is missing the point. Everyone is here because they feel their lives had no value. Kanade and this world as a whole wanted to show them that their lives had value, that the regrets they have don't need to eat away at them. Getting obliterated doesn't involve going to class or following the rules of the school, it involves how you feel deep down. This place is just an environment to give people a second chance and allow them to realize that their lives, no matter how short, always meant something. And every character gets to the understanding and realization of this. Take Yuri, the leader of the Battlefront. She had her home broken into as a child and was told to find valuables or her 3 younger siblings would be killed. Only as a child herself, she didn't know what to get, and as a result, her 3 siblings were killed. She hated herself for not being able to save them. Then, in the afterlife, she created the Battlefront as a way to save people from getting obliterated. The Battlefront as a whole, and every action she takes and makes the members enact, is all for their benefit and their survival. Yuri is a really selfless character when you boil down her actions, but she realizes that she doesn't need to hate herself for letting her siblings die because it wasn't her fault. She was only a child herself, so she couldn't do anything to save them. It's horrid that it happened, but she can't blame herself for something that was out of her control. In this world, she was able to save everyone she loved. Her Battlefront was a way for her to save as many people as she could. Then there's Naoi, a character who introduces himself as God, and becomes pretty much the Gestapo of this world after Angel is rendered obsolete as a threat about halfway into the story, acting like any power-hungry admin on a dark RP server.
That's already in, buddy! No!
Anyone who breaks the rules of the school in any way is either imprisoned or just attacked. Naoi, through his introduction and his actions, is not a very nice person. That is until we learn of his life before death. Naoi was born into a very prestigious family, and he was always overshadowed by his older brother, who seemed to be naturally gifted at everything and better than Naoi in every way. He felt like he was worthless and could never live up to his family's name, especially when his father gave him no attention compared to his skilled older brother. That was until his brother died when climbing a tree, and he was left to fill in the place of his brother, something he pushed himself to do. His life was built around being recognized and being worthy of his family status, not about him mattering the way he is. And because of this lack of recognition he got in life, he always felt like he had to be the best in order to appease those around him, which later led to the god complex he obtained in the afterlife. But through Otonoshi, he realized his life isn't worthless anymore because Otonoshi treated him like he mattered. Not because of the power he holds or the title he has, but for just being himself. And he realizes that he doesn't need to be better than everyone else to matter. He doesn't need to find constant validation through others. He can just be himself, and that's enough. And finally, there's Hinata. He let his team down in a baseball game and cost them dearly. Missing this catch caused him to fall into a deep depression, one that ate away at him and forced him down a bad path. He let a ton of people down, and he hated himself for it. But in the afterlife, he found people who needed him and relied on him. Hinata was a person who held others up and supported those around him. In this place, he came to the realization that one little mistake isn't the end of the world. He can still get better, learn, and overcome for the next time. Because deep down, he's still a good person with good intentions. One mistake will never outweigh the hundreds of good things you can do to those around you. There's always something better around the corner. Also, this motherfucker was really filled with regret and got sent to this purgatorial realm because of a baseball game. I have lost, no, thrown ranked games of Rainbow Six, and I feel no obligation to be sad for my team. I get my life, not for— oh fuck, he's right there! I'm sorry guys, I don't know how to be Solid Snake. But, on the same hand, I also get it. Something small like this can have an impact on you, especially when you're young. You feel like your mistakes hurt others, and if you're a selfless person, like Hinata was, you hate yourself for hurting others. And that's just how life is. You will fail, you will make mistakes, and all you can do after that is get up, keep moving forward, and do the best you can. Through this world, everyone could come to the realization that they, in their own individual way, mattered. Everyone who lived was someone who could help others, hold others up, bring joy to someone, or perhaps even love them. Angel Beats shows how life is up to chance, and most of the time, out of your control. bad experiences can shape you for the worse. Things can happen that totally ruin your life. Or maybe you do something that you immensely regret and it eats away at you. No one wants to have a bad life, but sometimes the universe just isn't kind. Life is unfair, simple as that. But Angel Beats says that no matter how bad life can be to you, no matter how short your life is, and no matter what the circumstances happen to be, your life was always worth it. That you always mattered and were always important in some way. But I think Angel Beats does say one last thing throughout its runtime. And if anything, I think that this is what Angel Beats is all about at its heart. Which is, despite how cruel life can be, you should have hope for the next day. Which is where I want to talk about my experience with Angel Beats. Because while I can talk right now about why I like Angel Beats, I personally didn't always love this show. For me, Angel Beats was a show that I watched, like many when I was young, and I enjoyed it, but it never fully clicked with me. I never had that personal connection to this that so many seem to have. For me, it was just a fun show, but one that I didn't hold on to. That was up until about 2 years ago from the time of writing this. I decided to rewatch Angel Beats, just out of fun and nostalgia. It had been a long time since my first viewing of it, but more importantly, I kind of hoped to find that connection to this show. Maybe with time, it might have grown on me, or maybe with age, I might understand, or at the very least, appreciate things differently. But sadly, it was very similar to my first experience. I enjoyed it. I still love that concept of people fighting back against the afterlife out of fear and dissatisfaction with their mortal lives. I still loved the art and themes. I still loved the romance, which is something that I'm not touching on in this video, but it still didn't hit me like it had so many other people. I just couldn't find a connection to this story. So I put it in the back of my memory and just went on with my life. That was until a few months after this rewatch of Angel Beats. And during this time, a bunch of things came into my life that were completely out of my control, and overall had a pretty negative impact on me. But luckily for me, there was a beacon of hope. A trip with some friends of mine. And this trip was a very big thing for all of us, and it was planned a long time in advance. We were all really looking forward to it. We had about 2 weeks together, me and 3 friends, and it was an amazing time. I had such a good time that it took my mind off of everything that was going on in my life. It was all going good. Until the day we were leaving. I got a text from my airlines saying they were putting me on a later flight. Now this kind of pissed me off as I was already on a pretty late flight to begin with. But I thought, okay, what is it? Like an extra hour? Hour and a half, maybe 2 hours? No, they pushed me back 5 hours. And they did this like 24 hours before my flight, so it was like really bad timing. I tried calling them up during the one chance I had during my travel time, and they told me to pretty much get fucked and there was nothing they could do. The next day we get to the airport, and 2 of my friends leave on their flights and trains respectively. I'm at the airport waiting with my last friend. We go to a bar, we have a beer, and then it comes time for his flight. We say our goodbyes, and he leaves me. And then I'm alone in the airport terminal. So what does a man do in an airport for 5 to 6 hours? Well, at night, not very much. I drank some water. That was a highlight. I could only have so many beers before they kick me out of each bar or my wallet goes dry. And I didn't have my laptop with me, so I couldn't do any work. So I was really bored and tired from the last 2 weeks and pissed off because of my airlines I was with. But most importantly, I was just lonely. I was lonely. Having the best 2 weeks, only to now have it ending here, was kind of soul-crushing. So I decided to pass the time by listening to some music. Now, I have this anime music playlist that I listen to every now and then. It's mostly composed of anime OPs and EDs that I like. You can call me cringe, because it is. If the aux cord falls out, or my Bluetooth disconnects while I'm in public, let's just say I'm fucked. But after I rewatched Angel Beats, I updated my playlist with some of the music from that show, including the opening and ending songs. But I was listening to my anime music playlist, time passes, and I'm just rotting in this little corner. I watch people come and go. I watch shops close down for the night. I see a bunch of tired people just waiting for their flights. I see businessmen, families, couples, young, elderly, all just coming and going. And I had a lot of time to think. I thought about my life, where it was going, the problems I'd faced up to this point. I think about everyone else I saw in that terminal, all the tired people and what happened in their lives to bring them to this place. And then I start thinking about that question. Does my life matter? And I can't get this out of my head. I sit in my corner for a bit longer, just thinking. And slowly this melancholic feeling came over me. And I think it was because I just had the best 2 weeks and now it's over. Those good times I had can't last forever and now I have to face everything life is throwing at me. Finally, my plane starts boarding. After what felt like an eternity of waiting, I take my seat and there's just so many things going through my head. Finally, the plane starts moving. And right as the plane takes off, the opening to Angel Beats starts to play. And the moment that sound hit my ears, everything changed in an instant. My head felt clear. It felt like I was flying, like all my problems just eroded away, because it was in that moment that I understood this show. Maybe it was the sleep deprivation catching up with me, maybe it was my broken body from the past 2 weeks, or maybe it was me just being pissed off and tired and angry and all these other emotions I had going through my head. But I realized in that moment that I could have done things differently. I could have taken different paths that led me to other places. And while I'm pissed off at how my life goes sometimes, and I look back on so many of the choices that I have made that I consider to be bad, I consistently feel like I have wasted time and messed up where it mattered. Despite feeling all of this, listening to this song told me that, yeah, I may have messed up in life, but it doesn't matter. Because no matter where you think you fucked up or where you think life just messed you up, you are still the best version of yourself that could exist. That is what I took away from Angel Beats in that moment. There is no you, no version of you that is better than the one that is alive right now. You can't be upset with yourself when you had no idea where your life would go and how it would end up. Life existed around you and you have handled it in the best way you could have. Looking back at what you've done and the things you've missed out on due to life being unkind doesn't get you anywhere. It's easy to fall into a self-hatred cycle looking at the past. But in doing that, you neglect to see all the positive impacts you've made in life, no matter how small they were. Maybe it was just being kind to a stranger on the streets, just talking to someone you know, or listening where it mattered. At some point, you meant something to someone. You brought someone joy, or made someone feel better. Your life is filled with small positive things that all came from you. And even if you can't see these things that you've done, you also neglect to see that your life is still going. And you still have so much potential in your future. You still have so much to live for, so many memories to make. Life will be hard, it will hurt you, it will be unkind and unfair. But it's not about hating the moments that already came, it's about loving all the moments to come. Looking forward to that unknown future. Because you still have so much potential left in your life. So much to experience and so much to find and so much to live for. And that's why I like Angel Beats. Because it reminds me of just how special life is, and that you're still alive and have so much to look forward to. So going back to that question that Angel Beats seems to ask of, does your life matter? Well, the answer is yes. Yes, it does. Your life always mattered, because you're still alive. You have no idea what the future holds, so you have all the opportunity to make the best of everything it can give. Angel Beats shows the lowest of lows life can have, but also the best of times it can give. And those good times are there, waiting for you to find them. So don't lose sight of that, because your life is so goddamn special.